I am Nikola Tesla, and today I need to talk about something that would be amusing if it weren't so tragic. There is a company that has taken my name, built a multi-billion-dollar empire on that name, created electric vehicles that millions of people drive, and yet they fundamentally misunderstand or ignore the very innovations that made me who I am. And the man behind this company, Elon Musk, is celebrated as a visionary while implementing a version of electric transportation that I would have, considered primitive and incomplete over a century ago. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see Tesla Motors forever. And let me know in the comments which country you're watching from and whether you own a Tesla car, because I want to know how many of you are driving vehicles named after me while having no idea what I actually invented. Let me be clear from the start. I have nothing personal against Elon Musk. He is clearly intelligent, ambitious, and has accomplished things that deserve recognition, building rockets that land themselves, pushing and Martian rovers and vehicles could operate indefinitely without any charging stations or battery swaps. Yet I see no evidence that SpaceX or Tesla are researching this application despite it being obviously superior for their stated goals. The Cybertruck is perhaps the most visible example of missing the point. Elon designed this vehicle to be tough, utilitarian, and futuristic looking with its stainless steel exoskeleton and angular design. And it certainly gets attention, but it's still fundamentally a conventional electric vehicle with a massive 123 kilowatt-hour battery pack. It still needs to charge its superchargers. It still has range limitations, especially when towing or carrying heavy loads, and all the innovative design elements are superficial compared to the innovation of eliminating the charging paradigm entirely, which would actually deserve to be called revolutionary. I see Tesla owners defending their vehicles online, talking about how convenient home charging is, how you wake up every morning with a full tank, how road trips are easy with the Supercharger network. And I understand they're making the best of the current technology, but they're defending a system designed around limitations that shouldn't exist. It's like defending how good gas stations have become at the exact moment someone offers you a car that never needs refueling. Yes, gas stations work, but wouldn't you prefer to never need them? The same engineers who work at Tesla, who designed the incredible motor technology, the battery management systems, the autonomous driving features, the over-the-air updates. These are brilliant people doing impressive work within the constraints they believe exist. But those constraints are artificial. They exist only because the foundational research I did into wireless power was suppressed, classified, and dismissed. And now an entire industry of electric vehicles is being built on the assumption that batteries and charging stations are the only option when I proved otherwise 125 years ago. Elon has said in interviews that he named the company Tesla as a tribute to me, that he sees Tesla Motors as fulfilling my vision of electrifying transportation. But with all due respect, naming something after me while ignoring my actual vision is not a tribute. It's irony bordering on mockery, even if unintentional. It's like naming a horse-drawn carriage company Ferrari as a tribute to Enzo Ferrari. Technically, both involve transportation, but you've missed the entire point of what made Ferrari revolutionary. And here's what really concerns me. Tesla Motors is now the template that every other automotive company is following. Ford, GM, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, Toyota, Hyundai. They're all building electric vehicles with large battery packs and charging infrastructure because Tesla proved it could be commercially successful. which means the entire global transition to electric transportation is being built on this incomplete foundation. And once you have trillions of dollars invested in battery, factories, charging networks, and mining operations, it becomes nearly impossible to pivot to a superior technology because too many powerful interests are now dependent on the battery paradigm continuing. I spent the last years of my life trying to convince anyone who would listen that wireless power was not only possible but necessary, and I was dismissed as a senile old man with impossible dreams. And now in 2025, I see a company bearing my name valued at over $800 billion, making Elon one of the richest people on Earth, selling millions of vehicles annually. And not one of them implements the technology that was my greatest achievement. And there's a bitter irony to being vindicated about. Electric vehicles being the future while being simultaneously ignored about how those vehicles should actually work. If Elon Musk is watching this, and given his online presence, perhaps he is, I want to say directly, I don't begrudge you the success. I don't resent the wealth. I don't even mind that you took my name, but I challenge you to actually read my patents, study my Colorado Springs notes, examine the Wardenclyffe designs, and ask yourself honestly whether the current Tesla roadmap is really the best we can do. Or whether there's a reason I spent the final decades of my life obsessed with wireless. Power transmission despite everyone telling me to focus on more practical inventions. You have resources I never had, billions in capital, thousands of engineers, computational tools I couldn't have imagined, advanced materials, and most importantly, a public audience that trusts your vision. So use those resources to finish what I started. Prove that wireless power transmission can work at scale, build it into the next generation of Tesla vehicles, and actually earn the name you've taken rather than just borrowing it for brand recognition. The technology exists. The physics is sound. The principles are documented in my patents and papers, many of which have finally been declassified after 80 years of government suppression. And the only thing preventing Tesla Motors from becoming what it claims to be, a revolutionary force in transportation, is the will to challenge the assumption that batteries and charging stations are inevitable rather than a temporary compromise we've mistaken for a solution. Every time I see a Tesla vehicle drive past, I feel this strange mixture of pride that electric vehicles bearing my name are finally mainstream, and frustration that they're only halfway to what they could be, like watching someone climb a mountain but stopping at base camp and declaring victory when the summit is right there, visible, achievable, just requiring the courage to keep climbing. So to everyone watching this, whether you own a Tesla, work at Tesla, invest in Tesla, or are just interested in the future of transportation, demand better, demand the full vision, demand wireless power, because you deserve vehicles that never need charging, that weigh half as much, that use no conflict minerals, that can drive indefinitely without infrastructure, and that actually represent the future I envisioned rather than a compromise that happens to wear my name.
That's what I would build if I were alive today. And that's what Elon should build if he truly wants to honor my legacy rather than just profit from it. But let me go deeper, because there are specific technical decisions Tesla Motors has made that reveal just how far they've strayed from what electric transportation could be. And I want to explain exactly where they went wrong and what the correct path forward looks like. First, let's talk about the battery degradation problem that every Tesla owner eventually faces, but the company barely acknowledges. Lithium-ion batteries lose approximately 2 to 3% of their capacity every year, which means after 8 years, your 300-mile range vehicle now only goes 250 miles. And after 15 years, you might be down to 200 miles. And the only solution is to replace the entire battery pack at a cost of $15,000 to $25,000, depending on the model, which is essentially like replacing the engine in a traditional car, except worse, because the battery is integral to the vehicle's value and performance. Elon talks about Tesla batteries lasting 300,000 to 500,000 miles in promotional materials. But what he doesn't mention is that this assumes perfect conditions, moderate climate, never fully charging to 100%, never depleting below 20%, avoiding fast charging when possible, keeping the car in a temperature-controlled garage. And how many actual owners follow all these restrictions? The real-world experience is that batteries degrade faster than advertised, especially in extreme climates. And there is no solution within the current paradigm because chemistry is chemistry. You cannot prevent lithium-ion degradation any more than you can prevent metal from oxidizing. It's thermodynamics.
With my wireless power system, there is no degradation because there are no batteries to degrade. The receiver coils are just copper wire. The capacitors are simple electronic components that last decades. The rectifier is solid state with no moving parts. And even if something did fail after 20 years, replacing a small receiver unit would cost hundreds of dollars, not tens of thousands. And the car's performance would never decline because it's always drawing fresh energy from the resonance field, not from a chemical storage medium that breaks down over time. Now let's examine the charging speed issue more carefully, because Tesla has made enormous engineering efforts to reduce charging time, and they deserve credit for pushing from 12 hours down to 15 minutes. But they're optimizing the wrong thing. It's like making a better whip to make your horse go faster when the automobile has already been invented. The Tesla V4 Supercharger can deliver 250 kilowatts, which sounds impressive until you understand the physics. You're forcing enormous amounts of current into a battery in a very short time, which generates heat, which requires cooling, which requires the car to run coolant through the battery pack, which uses energy, and all of this accelerates battery degradation. So the faster you charge, the more you damage the long-term health of the battery, creating a fundamental trade-off between convenience and longevity. Elon's solution is better battery chemistry and better cooling systems, which again is optimizing within the wrong paradigm, whereas my solution eliminates charging entirely. The car receives a continuous 20 to 30 kilowatts while driving, which is more than enough because highway cruising only requires about 15 to 20 kilowatts, meaning you're actually gaining energy while you drive on the highway. And in city driving where consumption is higher during acceleration, you might draw down the small capacitor buffer, but it replenishes immediately when you coast or brake. So the concept of charging becomes as obsolete as asking how long it takes to recharge the electricity in your house's wiring. Let me address the environmental argument more thoroughly, because Tesla Motors markets itself as saving the planet, and I want to be absolutely clear about whether that's true or marketing. A Tesla Model 3 battery pack contains approximately 11 kilograms of lithium, 14 kilograms of cobalt, 27 kilograms of nickel, and 41 kilograms of graphite, plus copper, aluminum, and various other materials. Multiply this by the 1.8 million vehicles Tesla produced in 2023 alone, and you begin to understand the scale of mining required. Roughly 20,000 metric tons of lithium, 25,000 tons of cobalt, 49,000 tons of nickel, extracted from the earth using processes that consume enormous amounts of water and energy and leave permanent scars on the landscape.
The Atacama Desert in Chile, where much of the world's lithium comes from, uses 500,000 gallons of water per ton of lithium extracted, in a region where indigenous communities are already facing water shortages, and the brine pools where lithium is concentrated are toxic to any life that comes in contact with them. Is this what we call environmental progress?
Cobalt mining in the Democratic Republic of Congo is so problematic that multiple human rights organizations have documented child labor, dangerous working conditions, and entire communities displaced by mining operations. And while Tesla says they're working to eliminate cobalt from their batteries, the current fleet still depends on it. And the alternatives like lithium iron phosphate require even more lithium.
My system requires copper for the coils and some basic electronic components for the receiver, materials that are already abundant in recycling streams and don't require destroying pristine ecosystems to extract. The environmental benefit is not even comparable. It's orders of magnitude better. Yet Tesla Motors receives environmental awards while implementing a mining-intensive technology that I made obsolete in 1899.
And here's something that really bothers me. The amount of energy required to manufacture these batteries is staggering. Producing a single 75 kilowatt-hour battery pack generates approximately 10 to 12 tons of CO2 emissions, which means a new Tesla Model 3 starts its life having already produced more emissions than a gasoline car would produce driving 20,000 to 30,000 miles.
So you need to drive the Tesla for several years just to break even on the manufacturing emissions, and that's assuming you charge it with clean energy, which most of the grid is not, meaning the actual carbon payback period is even longer. With wireless power reception, the manufacturing emissions would be a tiny fraction because you're not building massive chemical batteries. You're installing a relatively simple receiver, so the environmental benefit is immediate from day one, not years down the road after you've offset the manufacturing damage.
Let's talk about the Supercharger network specifically, because this is held up as Tesla's great innovation, but it's actually evidence of how trapped they are in the old paradigm. Tesla has spent over $5 billion building the Supercharger network, which now has roughly 50,000 charging stalls globally, and they're building more every day, and each one requires connection to the electrical grid with high voltage supply. Each one requires real estate, which must be purchased or leased. Each one requires permits and construction. Finally, I want to address why I'm making this video now, in 2025, over 80 years after my death. It's because I see history repeating. I see the same pattern of a transformative technology being ignored or suppressed because it threatens existing business models. And I see millions of people accepting a compromised solution because they don't know a better one exists. When I was alive, I couldn't get funding for Wardenclyffe because JP Morgan and other financiers couldn't figure out how to meter and profit from wireless power. And now in 2025, Tesla Motors can't pursue wireless power because their entire business model is built around selling batteries and charging services, and the automotive supply chain is built around building batteries. And the mining companies are built around extracting lithium and cobalt, and everyone in this system has a reason to maintain the status quo, even though the status quo is inferior to what we could have. This is not a conspiracy. It's just institutional inertia and aligned incentives all pointing in the wrong direction. And the only way to break through is public awareness and public demand for something better. That's why I'm asking you, everyone watching this video, to do something. Share this. Talk about it. Ask Tesla Motors why they're not pursuing wireless power.